Hi, I'm Katie Halcrow with Power Up Prep, and I'm super excited today to take you through some tips and strategies to help you power up your ACT. If this is your first time with us, first, welcome. Second, check out the link below. There, you're going to find the ACT questions and the note sheets that you can do along with these videos. All right, so let's get those materials together, and we're going to be ready to power up. Okay, so we just talked about how pictures are your friends and formulas are your friends, right? So now we've done 5 of our first strategies. So now we're gonna go on to strategy number 6 and number 7. So strategy number 6 is watch out for units. So if a question, for example, is in yards, but then they ask for the answer in feet, you're gonna have to convert. But here's the tricky part. If it's an area, you need to convert units before you find the area, because otherwise you might mess up on the unit conversion. For example, if something is in square yards, right? They want you, there's an area that you're given and they tell you, oh, it's 3 yards by 4 yards. So 3 yards is the width, 4 yards is the length. And then they ask you to find it in square feet. So like how many square feet are there? If you do 3 times 4 and find 12 and then multiply it by 3 to get square feet, it's actually not going to be the right answer because it's square feet, which means you have to take feet into account twice. So you would actually have to do 3 times 3. So it would be 12 times 3 times 3, which is hard for people to remember and a lot of times doesn't make sense. So this is what I want you to do instead. Instead of multiplying to find the area and then converting to feet, first what you're going to do is you're going to convert to feet and then multiply to find the area. So in this example, we have a 3 yard by 4 yard space. So we're going to do 3 times 3, which is 9, and then 4 times 3, which is 12, and then we have 9 times 12, which is 108 square feet. So that is the way that you can get this question right. So just remember, if you are finding an area or a volume, same thing happens for volume, except because there's 3 dimensions in volume, you would have to multiply it by the 3 feet 3 times. So rather than remembering that or getting confused by it, because it is very confusing, rather than doing that, instead what you're going to do is you're going to convert all dimensions first to whatever unit you're going for, and then multiply them out to find an area or find a volume. Okay, so another hint to remember with this type of question, questions that involve units, a lot of times they might ask how many of a smaller object would fit inside a larger object. They do this with volume and they do this with area. So they might tell you like, they want to pave a patio, how many bricks will fit inside the patio? What you need to do in this case is you find the area of the patio, and then you find the area of one of the bricks. And then you take the big area, so the big area of the patio, and then you divide by the little area of the brick to figure out how many bricks fit inside the patio. The same thing can be done with volume. So exact same process, you find the big volume and then you divide by the small volume to figure out how many of a certain object can fit into a space. Okay. So that's watching out for units. So just take units into account and make sure that you're converting the units prior to finding area or volume. Okay, so then the next strategy that I really want to talk about is determining what the question is asking. A lot of times questions are worded in a very confusing way. So what the test likes to do is take a really simple concept and then make it difficult. They're taking a simple concept and then asking a question in a very difficult way because they're trying to be tricky. They're trying to test critical thinking skills. So what you can do, a way to approach these questions that are taking this simple concept but asking in a tricky way, is taking a step back and asking yourself, what is this question asking about? What is this question testing? So if you see the word area in the question, they're probably testing area. If you see the word volume in the question, then they're probably testing volume. One that they like to do in this difficult way a lot is testing average. So people know how to find averages, right? Like if you're finding the average of 5 heights, right? You take the 5 heights and then you divide by 5, and then that gives you your average, right? People know how to do that. So we add up all the numbers, we divide by the number of numbers, and then that gives us the average. But they ask average questions in a really difficult way. For example, like let's take this one. Carlos gets an 85, 84, and 92 on his first 3 tests. If he wants his average score to increase by 2 points, what must he score on his 4th test? Okay, so we would start by finding our average, which is 85 plus 84 plus 92 divided by 3. And we're going to use our handy dandy calculators. And that gets us 87. Okay, so now we know that his score is 87. But what we have to do is figure out what the next test has to be in order for him to score 2 points higher for his average. So he has an 88, but he wants he has the 87, but he wants to get to an 89. Okay, so what we would do is we would take the scores that we have right now, because we know that they're an 87, so we know that he wants to get to an 89, right? He wants to get to a score of 89, so we put that as the average. So now we have 89 for the average, and then that equals all of the total, so all the numbers added together divided by the number of numbers. So in this case, we now have 4 numbers because there are 4 tests that are going to be taken into account. And we also know the first 3 tests. We know that we have 85 plus 84 plus 92 plus X. So some tests that we don't know about. So what we're going to do to solve this is we're going to multiply 89 times 4. So when we multiply 89 times 4, we get 356. Okay. So we get 356, and then what we're going to do is subtract that number that we got before. So we did 85 plus 84 plus 92. So we're going to plug that in the calculator. 84 plus 85 plus 92, and then that gives us 261. So we have 356 minus 261 equals 95. So in order to get an average score of 89, he has to get a 95 on the next test. So what we did was we found the average that we started with, and that was an 87. We added 2 to the 87 because he wants to score 2 points higher overall for his average. Then we took what we had, like the numbers that we knew, and we divided by 4, and then we solved that equation. So it's a complicated way to ask a question about average, but if you go back to what averages are, you can get it right. All right, so watch out for units and determine what a question wants in order to get those tricky questions right. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them below. We love to hear from you. Also, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss out on any of our curriculum or other tips and tricks that can help you power up your ACT.